Ladies and gentlemen, members and guests, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Another year, another chance, and welcome to a beautiful day in Port Angeles. You know, for us it's pretty good. We're all affluent. We're sitting here every Tuesday buying breakfast rather than eating at home. We get done at 8:30 so we can run off to jobs and open our businesses. There's a lot of people who struggle to pay the rent, who struggle just to have the money to get food, one of the essentials of life. We have a very active food bank here. We've given money. The Kiwanis have raised money for the food. What? The Lions, I'm sorry.
Nice knowing
I'm sure they help.
Yeah, Kiwanis have done it.
And the entire community does it. By the way, when you look at it, the amount of money we raise per person for the food bank and other things blows away any other kind of fundraisers. People would be jealous of the money we raise per population. And why? Because these folks work in our businesses. They are the friends of us, of our children. They go to school. They are a vital part of society. So let's learn today what the food bank does and how it helps all of us, including business members. Please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of the Food Bank, Jessica Hernandez. Jessica.
The most rousing introduction I've ever had. Thank you. So I'm Jessica Hernandez. I've been at the Port Angeles Food Bank since 2014 in February. And before that, I was doing a totally different kind of work. I had never worked in nonprofits. I had been running real estate law firms in Seattle on behalf of secured creditors doing foreclosures and evictions at the height of the foreclosure boom. Probably causing a lot of the problems that I'm now working really hard to help remedy. I was really good at it too. It's not a great thing to be proud of. But what I realized when we moved here to Port Angeles 5 years ago, Swim actually, was that this place looked so much more like my idea of what home was going to be. Young mother, had a small child. My husband received a job offer at OMC as one of the system administrators for the hospital system, which was fantastic. His family's from Swim, so we bought the family farm, which is not what usually that means, and moved in on 5 acres in Swim. I realized real quickly when I got here, and I wasn't working for the food bank yet, and I hadn't even really gotten to know the businesses or the area yet. But through a couple of connections, saw that they were looking for, they needed some leadership. They needed somebody who had worked with people, managed, knew how to take care of accounting, could do some, raise some money. And when I saw that they needed all those things that I was really good at doing in an evil way, I was ready to do it in a really positive way, right? And so I came on, immediately identified that the number one thing I needed to do was get involved with the community organizations. So I'm excited to be here with you guys today. I have worked real hard to get involved with Rotary. I'm the president of the Noon Rotary. Sam's my incoming president for the next Rotary year. I'm on the chamber board and just trying to stay connected with everybody, because I found real quickly in the first couple months as director at the food bank that to understand the needs of our county was not just to fill stomachs in Port Angeles. That the overall health of Clallam County could only be addressed by a multifaceted approach, a multi-agency approach, using partnerships of our area businesses, as well as reaching out to our residents and finding how can we get folks more engaged with this issue. It's a real, fun topic when you're talking about feeding kids, right? And that's one of our main focuses right now. That's one of the things people get excited about hearing about. We all know the children are our future, and they're the ones that we need to make sure we're taking care of. So at the Port Angeles Food Bank, we are growing our Friday food bag program. And if you're not familiar with our Friday food bag program, every week during the school year, we provide supplemental food for the weekend for 500 elementary kids. Every single week we make 500 bags of food to help those kids get through the weekend. Studies show that kids that are hungry have more discipline problems. They are sick more often, they miss more school, they have behavioral problems. And you know what? This hunger is related to the greater issues that we face as a community. If you don't have the nutrition and the sustenance that you need, you look to fill that gap elsewhere, right? I don't have a study to prove it, but I would say that it's not coincidence that with the growth and the rise of our issues with drugs and alcohol in our youth in this area, I'm seeing the same rise at the food bank. Year over year for the past 3 years, we have seen an increase of 12% in clients. So each year I'm serving anywhere from 10 to 12% more people than I was before. And that's not people coming back every time, every month. Those are individuals who I didn't see, another 12% that I didn't see the previous year, that I had never seen before. They'd never walked through my doors. Kind of circling back to that idea of partnership, when I started noticing these things when I took over the food bank, I realized some of the most tremendous partnerships I could make would be with the fellow food banks and meal programs. At that time, they weren't working together. They weren't speaking. They were kind of just separate silos. This is my food. Nope, that's my Safeway pickup day. And nobody was talking. We weren't sharing information. So in May of this year, along with Mark Ozias, our new county commissioner, back before he was county commissioner for 2 days now, he and I got together and created the first ever Clallam County Food Bank Coalition. We've been meeting monthly. We're sharing abundances. We're going to start doing a shared fundraiser so that we can work together. We know that our voices together are going to be louder and more impactful. So we've got tribal food banks, so the Makah, Lower Elwha, the Quileute, the Sequim Food Bank, Salvation Army Food Bank, Serenity House Food Bank, OLICAP, anybody that does hunger relief efforts, really. We even have some churches that have food banks or that do meal programs. Like First United Methodist Church, we're hoping they can come visit us in 2016 and be a part of that discussion. Because one of the most impactful things that we've noticed so far with this arrangement is I have everybody's emails. Anytime we have a big abundance, like let's say last week Franz called me and said I've got a ton of bread and I didn't need all of it at the PA food bank, so I shot an email out to the rest of the coalition and said, hey guys, there's all this bread, who needs it? Immediately Lower Elwha was like, I wouldn't have had access to that otherwise, we're going to go pick some up. Serenity House goes and picks it up, and we all know the plight that Serenity House is dealing with over the last couple of years and what they're trying to do to pick themselves back up, right? So working together in that coalition, working on some group fundraising, but the coolest thing that's come out of working with all these other groups, sharing each other's numbers. I know how many people Forks is serving. I know how many people and how often, how many are what age group, how many are veterans. So being able to put that information together has been so powerful. So when we put all of our information together, we saw, and this is 2014 because I haven't put my numbers together yet for 2015. So in 2014, our food bank served 1 in every 4 people in Clallam County.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
1 in every 4.
25%.
Visited a food bank.
Does that include recidivism, people that repeat?
No.
That's individuals.
That's individuals. Yeah. Over 10% of our clients are veterans. 29% are younger than 18. 21% are older than 55. And approximately 10% every month are new. We've never seen it before. Whether they're from out of town or they are just economically now they're in need. So having an opportunity to present this information to you guys, not just on behalf of the Port Angeles Food Bank, but as a coalition, as a group of people that are working together to fight hunger throughout the entire county, because, as I said before, the health of Collin County, the hunger relief efforts in Collin County are not just Port Angeles. And identifying that and working together as a collective has been a tremendously powerful experience thus far, and I'm really excited going into 2016 because we are looking at writing some goals, writing a mission statement, getting our efforts even further put together. So as far as my food bank, our food bank here in Port Angeles, again, I want, just like Sam said, I want to thank you guys for your efforts in all of the drives that we do, whether you're a Lion or a Kiwanis or a Rotarian or a member of PABA or whatever you're doing. We're all, I find that this community is so generous. That was one of the first things, and Andrew said that. I mean, if people knew outside of Collin County, and it's not a secret, but I mean, if they asked and found out how much money our business owners, our politicians, our government figures, our clubs, our individuals, how much they were raising to help support the most vulnerable in the county, 1 in 4, it would be amazing. They would all want to move here and start their businesses. But it's just a fantastic place to be. I feel really fortunate. Because those numbers are so gigantic, the job ahead of us is huge. However, because we have the support and the generosity of so many businesses and individuals like you all sitting here, I know we can do it. So before I wanted to tell you guys a little bit more about the Friday Food Bag Program with the kids. We are looking at expanding that. So I'm piloting it this year and last year in the middle school, as well as some small groups in the high school. That Friday Food Bag Program looks a little bit different when you change ages. You know, a K through 6-year-old kid has no problem carrying a bag of food around. It's going to be a little different for a middle schooler or a high schooler that maybe their friends don't know that they sleep in a car, or that their mom works 3 jobs and can't keep food on the table. So looking at how to present that program so it will be effective, something that we can execute at the level of the schools, is something that we're working on closely with the school district, like Tina Smith O'Hara and Kathy Crowley at Sodexo. So we are taking very purposeful, calculated steps on how we can reach those, because we all know that it's not just elementary kids that need help. And on the other side of that beautiful spectrum is our senior population. I mean, I gave you guys that number. It's above 20% are over 55. So what we started piloting in early 2015 was a senior citizen day. I wanted to take into account the fact that a lot of our aging population have mobility issues. A lot of them are undergoing different types of treatment. So having them sit in a room, because those numbers, like you can imagine, if you have ever been to the food bank on a distribution day, we're serving 500 people a day, you know, maybe 100 families a day, and that equates to about anywhere from 400 to 500 depending on the size of those families. That's a lot of people in a waiting room, and if you just finished your chemo and you have a walker, waiting for 2 hours to go through the line is a pretty big burden when you're already burdened with having to come and ask for help in the first place. So it seemed like an obvious next step. We would start a senior day, and that has been going tremendously. We've got a low-income senior living place, Highland Commons, that comes the second Thursday of every month. They get on a paratransit. There are people at Highland Commons put together the transportation. We open up just for them. And then we also let our other seniors know, or folks that are undergoing treatment, no matter what age they are, but they might not be able to sit or stand for very long, or they have an oxygen tank. So we're finding different ways to reach those very vulnerable populations, because it's not just homeless people. We know that 1 in 4 is not, we don't have that many homeless people here, you know. These are our neighbors, right? These are the people that are our family members, or our kid who's struggling and maybe dealing with drug addiction and often on the streets. We all know people like that. And those are the folks that we're trying to lift up So that's in a nutshell who I'm serving. And we have a fantastic, wonderful job. We have a great facility. I would urge you guys, I would love to have you guys come and visit anytime. Doesn't have to be during a hustle and bustle distribution day. It can be in an off day. You could come see the mural that we had painted on the inside of the building that's just stunning. It shows the life of vegetables, where they're helping each other out of the ground and they're doing a little tango, and at the end they're hopping in a cauldron of stew and they're happy about it. They're lounging back like they're in a hot tub. Have you seen it, John?
I've seen that.
Yeah, you need to come.
The mural.
Yeah, the mural. 86-foot mural, and it was done by a local tattoo artist, actually, but it's beautiful. He did a beautiful, beautiful job. So I'd be happy to take any questions. I've dropped some big numbers on you guys.
One of the things that amazed me every year when we did fundraising for the food bank was the amount of food that you can purchase with $1.
Yeah.
Would you transfer that to these people? Because it blows me away. That was one of the major things I always tried to announce on the radio,
Yeah.
was the fact that you can get so much for your $1. Could
Yeah.
you explain to us what that is through the food bank? Or
Certainly. If we're talking about in terms of, a jar of peanut butter. If you've seen, peanut butter is really expensive if you're buying it in the store. I can get 3 jars of peanut butter for that $1, and it's not scary off-brand Chinese peanut butter that's imported from far away. We try not to buy stuff that's not nutritionally dense, so I'm not into buying ramen or things like that, although we do get that donated, which is fine because a lot of people like that. But if we're talking about buying fresh fruit, for instance, I mean, you can buy, when I buy wholesale, if I'm talking to Nash's or talking to any of the other farmers in the area, because we want to keep our money local. We purchase from Hagen, we purchase from Safeway, we purchase from the local farmers when we're making those purchases. I mean, I can feed 3 families on that $1 with bare, with their pantry essentials. The oatmeal, the rice, the beans, some fresh fruit, and probably a cut of meat, when I can buy in such large portions. And we're lucky, we're a huge warehouse. Not all the other food banks have that capacity. So that's, again, where the idea of the coalition comes into play, because we'll start doing some joint purchasing, because maybe Forks can't get that price point because they don't have that type of capacity for storage. But I can get that price point, store my piece, and then share that, and we can have that greater impact and get that more nutritionally dense, locally, sourced or grown food to the most vulnerable. There's no reason to just be feeding them goldfish and Oreos. That doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help anybody's situation or raise them up. Did you have a question?
So you're saying it's better that we donate money to you than us go out and buy a case of tuna fish?
So I have two answers for that. So yes, more bang for the buck if money is donated.
Yeah, all right.
But on the flip side of that, part of donating is also about the experience. So if, let's say, you and your family wanted to put together a turkey dinner for Thanksgiving, even if I could do it for pennies on the dollar, if it's going to mean something impactful and meaningful for your family to make that action of putting that purchase together with the intent, the experience of donating and volunteering is an experience, and it's an important one. So I don't mean to sever that either by saying just give me money, because that definitely takes away from the beauty of donating. So if you have the ability to donate money, yes. If you only have $5 and you want to put together a basket for a family, beautiful. Yeah. Yes.
How many paid staff are running the food bank, and how many volunteers? What is your
Sure.
budget for personnel?
So we have 4 at the Port Angeles Food Bank. We are the largest food bank on the Olympic Peninsula. We serve the most people. We have myself, a warehouse manager to deal with the gigantic warehouse, and then I have 2 part-time drivers. My warehouse manager is part-time as well. I'm the only full-time. Volunteers. It's interesting when you talk to like my colleagues out in Sequim, let's say, their volunteer force looks very different than ours. At the Port Angeles Food Bank, the majority of our volunteers are court-ordered community service because that's what our geography is, right? Go out to swim, they're all fabulous retired folks that want to give their time. So it's just a different, and it's smaller, and it's just a different experience. But for us, one of my greatest challenges, and there's not really anything anyone can do about it, but one of my greatest challenges is that constant influx and outflow of new volunteers, training, making sure there's no theft happening. So we have a security system that was donated before I got there. I had it installed, and we utilize that. I mean, I hate to have scare tactics, but I have to use it in a warehouse that big with that much food. Stuff goes missing. So with our volunteers, we actually, it's primarily community service. I have about 10 volunteers who are just there out of the goodness of their hearts, and they're amazing. They're there every single day from open to close, and they're wonderful. It's everything, and it shifts too. Sometimes I don't have any community service folks. I mean, it's just my 10 mainstays. So we could always use volunteer workers. Of all abilities and levels. You don't have to be able to lift 50 pounds, but if you can, I'm going to have you lift 50 pounds because I got lots of 50-pound crates to lift. but there's plenty to do. There's lots and lots to do. We could always use help.
Go back on the 25%.
Yep.
25%, is that 25% of people of Clown County coming to your bank or the consortium of your banks?
Those are the numbers from the coalition, so it's not 25% coming to the Port Angeles Food Bank. We are probably at the PA Food Bank, and I don't have this number, and I'm looking forward to crunching the numbers for 2015. It'd probably be 15% of the county coming to the Port Angeles Food Bank, but that's a guess. It could be more or less by a couple points. Because of how busy we are, and because we don't have any geographic restrictions in place as our policy at the food bank. We don't turn anybody away. Yes?
Do you have how many pounds of food total was given out last year through the food bank?
I don't have it yet. If you give me your card, I can email you the numbers when I crunch them.
Jessica, so the Polar Pioneer just gave a huge gift to the community. The 24th of December, I was serving lunch at the Salvation Army, and we had this big pork loins from the Polar Pioneer. It was awesome. So what did our community receive?
We received just short of 15 metric tons of food. It was huge.
That was huge.
It was, that's an understatement. Huge. It was 15 metric tons of food. It was ginormous.
Where did it all go?
Well, it primarily went to food programs like Salvation Army and Serenity House, because it was all large portion stuff that was meant to feed a large group. So what we could cut down, or what we could, put into smaller pieces that would be good for individual families, we did. But the majority of it, I'd say 14 of that 15 tons went out to our coalition partners that do meals. Yeah, it's fantastic. But on the other end, and thank you for asking, that's a good opportunity for me just to educate folks, because some people, I was at the Nor'Wester Rotary meeting a couple days after that donation, and they said, oh, you guys are set for the year, you don't need any more donations, and I just about pulled my hair out, and I said, no, we're not keeping any of it. I'm just the hub because I have the big warehouse, but what am I going to do with a side of cow? Right? Like, I can't do anything with that. I can partner with a butcher like Evergreen or something, or Sunrise, and see if they can cut it down for us. But the vast majority of things, 10 cans of apple pie filling. Things that I don't going to do me any good, but they're fantastic for Salvation Army and Serenity House and Ole Cap's Meals on Wheels program.
We were eating good.
I'm so grateful for that, and I'm grateful to have been a part of that, because the logistics of unloading 15 tons of food, there's no words for that. That was crazy. Yes?
How does the Meals on Wheels concept relate to your activities in Squib, Angeles, and the county?
How does it relate? Well, I know that, I don't know a ton about that program. The gal who runs it, her name is Gabrielle Santiago. She's with Ole Cap. And she said that their need is tremendously larger than what they have funding for. So my knowledge is that they're doing as much as they can. I feel like their Meals on Wheels only reaches Sequim and Port Angeles because that's all they have money for. But having that communication with her and knowing what her needs are. So when she tells me she's doing, Christmas dinner for 500, and we just get the Polar Pioneer donation, you bet that she was there at my warehouse picking up stuff to make stuff, Christmas dinner for the Meals on Wheels recipients. As far as the picture of that, of what it is in the county, I look forward to finding more information out because she just had her funding cut again. So I'm not sure what the future of that program is here. I hope it sticks around.
So it seemed to me, I've been just
Great.
various Meals on Wheels
Mm-hmm.
that in fact their clients or your clients are just that these people have special ability
Sure.
and they just can't get to
Right.
the food bank.
Absolutely. And if I had the ability to deliver, I would. I know that the Salvation Army is able to do some delivering. So yeah, the Meals on Wheels is vital in that it is reaching the clients that I can't reach because I don't have the money to do delivery. I wish I could. I mean, we've done one or two one-offs for folks who are agoraphobic and ill and housebound and they can't get out. And Salvation Army has already been out to their house once this month, and that's as much as they can do. I have a volunteer that he'll pack up a big box and bring stuff out to them. We just do everything that we can. But I can see on my horizon in the next 5 years looking for grant funding for transportation support so we can do start some delivery, because I don't think Meals on Wheels has the capacity, unfortunately, since their funding keeps getting cut, which is terrible. Just terrible. Yes.
I'm having trouble getting around this 25%.
That's okay.
How does Clown County compare with other counties? Is this 25% of an aberration with us, or is it indicative of the general economy?
So I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, so let me think about a nice way to say this. So last year, Feeding America, which is a national hunger relief effort, polled specifically Washington as one of the states that they took, and they did a survey on counties that had gotten better, stayed the same, or gotten worse as far as numbers of hungry people, reporting to food banks, reporting to meal programs. And last year, there were, out of all the counties in the state of Washington, 7 that got worse, and Clallam was at the top of that list.
And how many of those counties were depressed counties?
All 7 of them were considered depressed, yeah. So those are the 7 most depressed counties in the state of Washington.
We're not out of line for the economics that we're in.
No, we're just kind of in a little bit of a hole though, yeah.
There used to be something, was it like Northwest Harvest
Yep.
or something? Do you still get?
We do.
them?
We do. So there's actually 2 agencies that we partner with from out of this area, and the first one is Food Lifeline, and they are a subsidiary of Feeding America who did that, which is how I got my hands on that data. And they just this year awarded us as the hub for Clallam County. There recently, before that, wasn't a hub, so all the food banks and meal programs had to drive to Port Townsend if they had the resource to pick up food every Tuesday. Now, we do purchase food from them at 3 cents on 3 cents a pound, so no matter what it is, if it's filet mignon, which it never is, but if it was meat or canned goods, it's 3 cents a pound. So it's a great place, and it's all donated food that is donated from grocery stores in the state of Washington, a lot of times in our areas. So we utilize them as a purchasing place as well. And so every Tuesday, Food Lifeline brings their huge, which is actually, they're gonna be there in about 10 minutes, a huge semi-truck full of food, and all of the other agencies come to my warehouse and pick up up. So the Macaw Pickup, Serenity House, Salvation Army, Swim Food Bank, and they all are Food Lifeline partners. So we have that source if we have the funds to spend. And then we also have Northwest Harvest. And this is also a bit of good news. Historically, we've had to drive to Kent once a month to pick up Northwest Harvest. And again, that's only available to organizations that have the resources, that have a big truck, that can drive, pay for the gas and the manpower to drive to Kent and back, the Narrows toll. And we've been using that expenditure because they fill our huge semi-truck with the staples, the rice, the beans, the oatmeal, and it doesn't cost us anything except for the gas to get there. Well, the good news is I talked them into turning us into a hub. And so starting this month, all of those agencies don't have to spend those resources. That money that is donated from the community to purchase food, instead of having to say, oh, I have to pay for gas to drive to Northwest Harvest, to Kent, to get all this food, and it's instead we can actually utilize that money better here. So we're really excited. It'll be, I think the last week of January, the Port Angeles Food Bank will be the hub for Clallam County and maybe Jefferson County as well, so they don't have to drive out there.
And from all these different agencies, do you collect any money to defer cost of warehousing and stuff, or is this your donation to that?
Yeah, I don't. The only money, when we were driving to Kent to pick up Northwest Harvest and we started the coalition, I told Mark at the Swim Food Bank, I said, there's no reason that we should both be driving over there. Can I pick up your stuff for you? And he helped pay for gas a couple of times. That's the only compensation, and that was just because we were dealing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
When people arrive, do you ask when they're receiving food stamps? And if so, what percent do you estimate are receiving food stamps?
Let me wake up my computer and I can tell you. We actually went in front of the commissioners early 2015 and had all this data with us. So we did do.
Do you ask people that?
We don't. However, in 2016, the coalition is forming a questionnaire that we will utilize with our clients. It's going to be more of a needs assessment, really. What are the things that you like? What do you don't like? What do you wish you had more of? The Swim Food Bank did one late last year, and it was tremendously helpful. It helped him guide purchasing. Instead of buying things that he realized his clients didn't actually need or want, he could redirect it to things that they needed or wanted that were healthful choices. And so we're going to do a similar thing, but lumped into that, and Mark actually did have it in his needs assessment, is who's getting food stamps, what type of assistance are you getting, how long have you been a client, how long have you needed, those types of things. So we will be asking those questions pretty soon. I think Mark found, since it's not pulling up right now, Mark found, I believe it was that 30%, it was 30 or 35% of his people utilized food stamps. I would say my numbers would be significantly higher. Because the busiest time at the food bank is the first week of the month and the last week of the month, when people haven't received their food stamps yet and they've run out of their food stamps. And it's like mayhem. I mean, it's stuffed. There's people lining down the street. So that's directly correlated with when they're receiving and running out of their food stamps. So yeah, yes.
Jessica, did the city or did the county officially thank TransSocial or anybody in that organization for the donation?
I don't know that the city or the county did.
Anything reading the paper or anything about it?
Yeah.
No letter or anything went out to any of the executives saying thank you very much for the community?
From us, there was. From the coalition, I don't know that the county or the community did it. That's a fantastic idea, and it's not too late.
No, it isn't too late.
Yeah.
It's a perfect thing to do because if we can get the eyes focused on this community in the bigger picture, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
We can do that.
I would love that. I mean, that's a wonderful idea. The service clubs could do that. Everybody
If we
could do
knew
that.
anybody on the city council, we'd bring it up to council.
That's a great.
I don't know anybody.
Thank you very much.
And we can bring that up as a motion. This group can do
We
that
can.
stuff,
Yeah.
and we should.
We fortunately read about in the Peninsula News. Other than that, we haven't received.
Well, you might have to get some more publication someplace else over that process.
Yeah.
And you would have the name of the person that we could send it to that authorized this?
I do, yeah, I do. I have the email
Get that
address.
information from you. That's a
You
great
bet.
suggestion.
I love it. Any other questions? You guys have awesome questions, I love it. Oh,
You guys do what for countywide, this county, this region, I mean, for example, disaster relief funds, food, clothing
yeah.
issues, as well as our food bank. But we have seen for the last 20 years this need continue to increase. My question to you is, what can we do in this region to see that need be reduced? Yeah.
You just heard it mumbled.
It's jobs.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't, that's all right. Like, sometimes I don't, sometimes I hate saying it because that's such a hard thing to do. It's not as simple as just saying jobs. The majority of my clients, and I feel this wholeheartedly and know it from constant conversations with them, don't want to have to come to the food bank.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to have to be there. And a lot of them come only when they absolutely positively have to need it. And then there's others that, you know, try to come every week, you know, but those are so rare. The majority of our folks want jobs. The majority of our folks want to not have to work 3 jobs in a 2-person household, you know. I honestly don't know a better explanation. I think that the community generosity and the way that we all just kind of wrap ourselves around this issue by giving, and giving is a beautiful reaction as far as getting it at the source.
Well, the concern is at some point we're going to hit the
Yeah.
breaking point.
Absolutely.
We can't keep funding this.
We already
We
have.
need to look at what can we do to reduce that.
We already have, because I've had to reach for new, yeah, because I'm reaching for new grants that have never been accepted in this area before, and we're receiving them for the assistance because our numbers look the way they are. And it's unfortunate, you know, to have to go that way. The community supported us for so long, but I can't keep asking you guys to do that at a higher level each time.
Do you know, are the county commissioners aware of the situation? Have you briefed
Yeah.
them?
So last February, we went in front of the commissioners and did a PowerPoint, myself, Forks, and the Swim Food Bank. And we were looking for some support, actually. We did an ask to help fund a new kind of groundbreaking program that we were really excited about. It didn't happen, but all 3 commissioners were very excited by the information that we shared. Chapman actually showed up on my doorstep unannounced at the food bank and said, we need to talk, you know, and I gave him the lowdown, gave him the tour, we talked about it. Mark Ozias is the now ex-director of the Swim Food Bank, and he was my partner in that ask, so he's very well informed. And Bill Peach is so active with his food bank in Forks, so I believe that as far as hunger relief efforts in Clallam County, our commissioners are in a really good position to work with the community to take some serious actions going forward, not just on hunger relief, but on relief of the entire area. I'm very excited. It's a good time for that.
Did you have a question?
I'm just curious about all the agencies you get surplus food from. Have they ever thought about lowering their costs to the public? I mean, they got that much to give away.
Yeah, I think that because they are 501c3s and because of the way that they are set up as organizations, I think they can only give to other 501c3s. I think that the only exception, so Northwest Harvest will give to federally recognized tribes, and that's the only exception. Food Lifeline will not.
Government.
That exactly. I don't know, but that's a totally legitimate question. And you know, on Thursday, so I'm the representative for Food Lifeline for Jefferson, Kitsap, and Clallam County, and we have a meeting in Seattle on Thursday that I will be in attendance. And I'm going to I'll ask the CEO of Food Lifeline. She's a really forward-thinking woman. And
laws can be changed.
Absolutely.
And regulations can
Absolutely.
be changed.
Yeah, and we're not above, you know, below that. So I'm gonna ask her if that's something what that would look like if it was possible.
I think I'd just like to reemphasize your comments here and let people realize, try and put it into perspective, what you said about the money per dollar, 3 cents on every dollar. For what we just spent on breakfast right here, we could feed a family of 4 3 meals. Think about that. When your dollars go into the food bank, to me, that's one of the best little places to give your money is to the food bank, because 3 cents on every dollar, you can feed a family of 4 a meal for $5.
Yep.
Think about that, folks, where it goes, and as we're increasing in people coming to the food bank, that just blows me away. It always has.
Absolutely.
Ever since I started doing this.
Thank you.
I think we reached our
Sorry.
very
And John has my contact information if anybody needs to email me for further questions.
Good going, John.
Thank you very much.
Good program.
John, you got a little.
Thanks, Andrew. And actually, Mr. President, there's still a minute left.
All right, please.
I think it's a great idea, not only that, but all the economics that the Polar Pioneer brought to this community. I move that the PABA sends a letter of thanks for their contribution to our society.
Good, I'll second it.
Okay,
I like it.
any discussion?
Send it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll be done.
I was gonna say, should I? Who's gonna write it?
As well as reaching out to our residents and finding how can we get folks more engaged with this issue. It's a real, fun topic when you're talking about feeding kids, right? And that's one of our main focuses right now. That's one of the things people get excited about hearing about. We all know the children are our future, and they're the ones that we need to make sure we're taking care of. So at the Port Angeles Food Bank, we are growing our Friday Food Bag Program. And if you're not familiar with our Friday Food Bag Program, every week during the school year, we provide supplemental food for the weekend for 500 elementary kids. Every single week we make 500 bags of food to help those kids get through the weekend. Studies show that kids that are hungry have more discipline problems. They are sick more often, they miss more school, they have behavioral problems. And you know what? This hunger is related to the greater issues that we face as a community. If you don't have the nutrition and the sustenance that you need, you look to fill that gap elsewhere, right? I don't have a study to prove it, but I would say that it's not coincidence that with the growth and the rise of our issues with drugs and alcohol in our youth in this area, I'm seeing the same rise at the food bank. Year over year for the past 3 years, we have seen an increase of 12% in clients. So each year I'm serving anywhere from 10 to 12% more people than I was before. And that's not people coming back every time, every month. Those are individuals who I didn't see, another 12% that I didn't see the previous year, that I had never seen before. They'd never walked through my doors. Kind of circling back to that idea of partnership, when I started noticing these things when I took over the food bank, I realized some of the most tremendous partnerships I could make would be with the fellow food banks and meal programs. At that time, they weren't working together. They weren't speaking. They were kind of just separate silos. This is my food. Nope, that's my Safeway pickup day. And nobody was talking. We weren't sharing information. So in May of this year, along with Mark Ozias, our new county commissioner, back before he was county commissioner for 2 days now, he and I got together and created the first ever Clallam County Food Bank Coalition. We've been meeting monthly. We're sharing abundances. We're going to start doing a shared fundraiser so that we can work together. We know that our voices together are going to be louder and more impactful.
Director of the Food Bank, Jessica Hernandez. Jessica.
That's possibly the most rousing introduction I've ever had. Thank you. So I'm Jessica Hernandez. I've been at the Port Angeles Food Bank since 2014 in February. And before that, I was doing a totally different kind of work. I had never worked in nonprofits. I had been running real estate law firms in Seattle on behalf of secured creditors doing foreclosures and evictions at the height of the foreclosure boom. Probably causing a lot of the problems that I'm now working really hard to help remedy. I was really good at it too. It's not a great thing to be proud of. But what I realized when we moved here to Port Angeles 5 years ago, Swim actually, was that this place looked so much more like my idea of what home was going to be. Young mother, had a small child. My husband received a job offer at OMC as one of the system administrators for the hospital system, which was fantastic. His family's from Swim, so we bought the family farm, which is not what usually that means, and moved in on 5 acres in Swim. I realized
Ladies and gentlemen, members and guests, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Another year, another chance, and welcome to a beautiful day in Port Angeles. You know, for us it's pretty good. We're all affluent. We're sitting here every Tuesday buying breakfast rather than eating at home. We get done at 8:30 so we can run off to jobs and open our businesses. There's a lot of people who struggle to pay the rent, who struggle just to have the money to get food, one of the essentials of life. We have a very active food bank here. We've given money, the Kiwanis have raised money for the food. What? The Lions, I'm sorry.
Nice knowing you.
I'm sure they helped.
Yeah, Kiwanis have done it too.
And the entire community does. By the way, when you look at it, the amount of money we raise per person for the food bank and other things blows away any other kind of fundraisers. People would be jealous of the money we raise per population. And why? Because these folks work in our businesses. They are the friends of us, of our children. They go to school. They are a vital part of society. So let's learn today what the food bank does and how it helps all of us, including business members. Please join me in welcoming the Executive Director.
Just real quickly when I got here, and I wasn't working for the food bank yet, and I hadn't even really gotten to know the businesses or the area yet. But through a couple of connections, saw that they were looking for, they needed some leadership. They needed somebody who had worked with people, managed, knew how to take care of accounting, could do some, raise some money. And when I saw that they needed all those things that I was really good at doing in an evil way, I was ready to do it in a really positive way, right? And so I came on, immediately identified that the number one thing I needed to do was get involved with the community organizations. So I'm excited to be here with you guys today. I have worked real hard to get involved with Rotary. I'm the president of the Noon Rotary. Sam's my incoming president for the next Rotary year. I'm on the chamber board and just trying to stay connected with everybody, because I found real quickly in the first couple months as director at the food bank that to understand the needs of our county was not just to fill stomachs in Port Angeles. That the overall health of Clallam County could only be addressed by a multifaceted approach, a multi-agency approach, using partnerships of our area businesses as